Did you see the Cy Young stuff last night? Did you,
I
you
saw
watching?
the. I did not watch. I saw the gifs come up of like Skeens
Yeah.
got it for the National League. Is that right?
Yes, he did. He did. And then Scooble won.
School. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you see too that it's kind of weird to me that there was a Pirates teammate that came out and said that Skeens wants to be on the Yankees. Did you see that too?
I didn't.
Just strange. Like what kind of I don't know. I can imagine like doing that, saying that to like reporters and stuff. I
Well, but
get it, but
some of those guys get to a point where, I mean, minor league baseball is much more like this than even at the big league level, but it's you're wearing the same jersey,
yeah.
but you truly want what's best for the person, and you don't, it doesn't, there's a point of it that I want my team to be good, but
Yeah.
also want to make more money. And if he goes there, then everything gets bumped up and we all make more money, or we all get
Right.
shipped out of Pittsburgh, or maybe the owner sells and makes it. That's the part for me is with the arms they have coming up,
They got some good
they don't
ones.
have to do a lot, but they have to do something.
They have
And
to.
that town during playoff baseball is really good.
Yeah, like they're gonna have to commit some money somewhere, right? Because it's a
Okay.
beautiful ballpark. Like everybody loves playing there. It's a pretty cool city. Like I don't think it's a city where people are not wanting to go. Like Pittsburgh's cool. You have the best pitcher in baseball. Like I think it's a destination, but ownership's got to be able to commit money to free agents. And I get it. Like, you have a window of opportunity like Skeens does to where he's going to be the best pitcher probably on the planet for, hopefully 10, 15 years, right? You have to maximize that window while you have it. So I don't know. It's hard because you want to win, and I get what he's saying, or if that's true or not, I don't know. But,
Right.
the main goal is to win a World Series, right? So
It is, but the other part to that too with him, it's a little bit more of a spotlight issue because of his the girlfriend or fiance now, maybe. I don't
I don't
know.
know. I know
Yeah.
he's dating Livy or whatever, and I
Yeah.
know that's like a
So,
whole thing.
but she has probably her own without, I don't know her at all. I've never met her. I don't, my kids keep me informed of what's going on with that because they see the
Sure.
baseball player sometimes with her feed.
Right.
But she has her own stuff going on. So
hmm
yes, when you're single and you're young, or you're just married and you're young, you can kind of do the two different lives and merge them together.
Sure.
There comes a point where for it to really work, they both have to be on the same page. You look at Verlander and Kate Upton, and not saying that Kate gave up things, but
hmm
it's would her career have been different if they were in Los Angeles, if they were in New York?
Probably could have
You know,
capitalized on that market a little bit more for sure.
yeah, and maybe she didn't want to. Maybe that everybody has their own. I have no idea, and I'm
Right.
not going to speculate. But trying to figure out where young people's lives are going to go.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
We,
mean,
we all have decisions to make, and so yes, I want to win a World Series, and yes, I want to be the best of all time. But baseball, when you start looking at it, I mean, I was listening to Clayton Kershaw interview this morning,
hmm
and you're treating him like he's this old, decrepit old man who's been around and lived his life. The dude's in like his early to mid 30s, right?
Yeah, I think
Mid to
he's
late 30s,
37,
37, yeah,
38,
somewhere in
somewhere in
there.
there. Like he's young. Like I'm
Yeah.
33. Like he's not that much older than me.
Stafford was at Georgia in 2007.
Yeah,
So,
right. Right.
not that old. There's
Yeah.
there's still a lot going on, and he's going to get a chance to experience, but that your timeline gets sped up a little bit when you look at your career path and go, for most baseball players to get to the big league level, my career is 3 years.
hmm
It's 5 years. For guys that are established, it's 10 to 15 years
Right.
if I'm really lucky. So, and then they're retired. So
And then
they're the
what?
exact same. Nope. They're the exact same as somebody that's finishing up their career and
Yeah.
leaving a plant after having worked there for 45 years. So
Right. Yeah, it's just it's such a strange world because like you said, people view Kershaw as this old man. He's just kind of getting going in life and has, a bunch of kids and um yeah, it's crazy to think about, and it makes total sense. Like, there's so many factors that people don't realize. I never had to deal with those type of issues as far as like being the guy, the Cy Young winner and all that. Obviously they're good problems to have, I'm sure.
yeah,
But there's a lot of factors that go into kind of what the career path should look like, I guess. So no, that's a good point. I never really thought of that. Um, what do you think? Because I think the MVP stuff is tonight, and my question is, do you think anybody will ever win an MVP in the National League while Shohei Ohtani is playing baseball? Because I don't think so. There's no way.
So will somebody win it? Yes. Will somebody be the best player or the actual most valuable player? No. It's the Michael Jordan effect.
Yeah, yeah,
How many MVPs should Michael Jordan really have won?
all of
How
them,
many MVPs, right? How many MVPs should in LeBron's stretch should he have really won?
all of
There
them.
becomes a point where
Voter, what's it called?
there's
Voter,
voter fatigue.
voter fatigue. Yeah,
You'll
that's it.
have that. And then you have people trying to define what most valuable is. Is it
Yeah.
best player? Is it I mean, if you take Shohei off the Dodgers, the Dodgers probably at certain points of this year really, really struggle.
Oh yeah.
They had those periods with him,
Right.
but they just he bails you out of a lot of different situations. He lengthens your roster, he lengthens your pitching staff once he kind of got back on the mound.
Yep.
So I think we're being spoiled too, where we're looking at it going, okay, this is what he does. And he's a dual guy, and it's really cool, and nobody's ever done it before. But it's not just that. He may be the best pitcher that we've
Yeah.
ever seen.
I know.
He may be the best hitter that we've ever seen, and he's doing them both at the same time.
Doesn't make sense. Like when he hit the I think it was the three homer game in the playoffs,
Yep.
and he pitched that game too, right? Or he pitched the next day. I can't remember.
It's the next day, yeah, because that was the he was on base 9 times.
Yep.
They walked him 5 times, and then they get done. Dave Roberts does a deal in the locker room. We get to play again today.
Mm-hmm.
Shohei's already counting his hours because he's a big sleep guy, from what I
Yeah.
hear. He
Right.
loves his sleep, so he's already trying to count his hours as to when
How
how
many he
late
can
can he
get?
get to the ballpark.
That's just I don't think we'll ever see anything like that ever again. I mean, everyone, Babe Ruth and everything, but this is different, man. Like
A
enjoy.
lot of things being unlocked. Once somebody
Yeah.
does it, the analytics have gotten really good too. You look at Travis Hunter; they're trying to figure out
Yeah.
where should we use him, and everybody looks at him and goes, his ability defensively right now and what he can do and how he can change a game plan maybe far outweighs what he is as a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But with Jacksonville's analytics, they look at it and go, he changes more games as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
We're gonna let him do both, but we see him as a wide receiver first. Now their analytics may change as they're around him, and they're allowed to do that.
Right.
But the more data you get on those types of guys, how do we use them? Where do we use them? It's I equate it to when the Cardinals had La Russa and they started messing around with lineups and
Mm-hmm.
they were hitting the pitcher eighth. That was kind of the lead in
I remember
effect to
that. Yeah.
where do we actually hit our best hitters?
What was the reason for that?
They because of that they had done some analytic deep dives on that guy's going to get one at bat, maybe a second at bat, but we're going to the bullpen earlier. And so now we have more of a chance with our better hitters coming up to have people on base in front of them.
Mm.
And with the way you use pinch hitters and the way they were going to build their bullpen, it made more sense to get to the pitcher's spot earlier.
Yeah.
So the first time through the
Makes
order,
sense.
fine. The second time through the order, they're probably going to the bullpen. They're probably going to start pinch hitting and making those moves. But now you look at it and go, okay, where's Shohei hit? Shohei's going to hit first. Where's the big
He's
boy
mo
from Indiana? That's the Phillies. Um,
Schwarber.
Schwarber. Where's Schwarber going to hit him lead off?
Yeah.
Why? Because he's going to get
More at
70
bats.
to 100 more at bats if he hits there
Yeah.
throughout the course of the year. So everybody made that adjustment. There was actually Delaware did a study in the 80s, University of Delaware, Bob Hanahan
Okay.
and Mike Roberts, not Mike Roberts,
Mike Roberts.
11.
I know Mike.
Who? Yeah, Mike Roberts at Cal. He was not part of that.
Yeah.
Uh, 11 at Florida State.
Hmm.
Mike Martin
Yeah. Yeah.
implemented it too. Doug Minkiewicz was their best hitter, and they're hitting him in the 2 hole, and it came up throughout the entire year. Why is Minkiewicz hitting two? He should be hitting cleanup. And Mike Martin's like he's going to get more at bats. And then when they got to Omaha, they messed with it where he was in the lineup
Yeah.
because we're not going to get this big picture of at bats. We're going to get a more finite deal. So, should we move Schwarber to the 3 hole if we're in the playoffs? Do I want people
Interesting.
hitting ahead of him?
Yeah.
Should Shohei hit somewhere where there's going to be more guys on base? Am I wasting an at bat where he may leave the yard, but it's a solo shot, not a 2-run shot?
Hmm.
So you're going to start to see that pop up too. So the more data points they get, the more they dive into it. And Then once they do it, then they just sell it. They've done a great job of that.
Yeah. Would you, I guess to that, like when you say like a smaller sample size, like couldn't you just justify it as like one game at a time kind of thing, or you're just trying to get the most out of your player over 162?
You could absolutely justify one game, especially if you come up one game short.
Right, right.
You
That would be
know,
my thing. It's like the race is always so close in baseball, that solo shot that you could have won, by two, maybe you lose by one, or you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I think there's something to
well,
that as well.
the rebuttal of that would be is if he gets, let's say he gets an even number, gets 100 more at bats a year, hitting in the
Yeah.
one spot versus the three spot, and in those
Hmm.
100 at bats, he's hitting a home run every 20 at bats. So that's five more home runs.
Yeah.
So now the run production of the team goes up by him having more
It's
at
true.
bats. When you get to the playoffs and you go, okay, we're going to hit him in a leadoff spot instead of the three hole, and over this 6 game series, he's going to get two more at bats.
Hmm.
Because that's just the way the lineup falls on certain days. It may be 18 more at bats. Who knows? But it may be
Right.
two. So
Right.
now those home runs, do we outweigh solo shots from the leadoff spot by not having people on base?
And you don't want to
That's
mess with
that's
him
where we do the
either,
math.
too. I feel like, especially if he gets so comfortable in that. And I know that's not really the analytics play, right? You're not really,
They don't believe in that at all.
yeah, you don't. Nobody really does anymore. And which is interesting because I'm sure you've been around baseball long enough. Like guys like to hit in their certain spots. Like they feel if whether it matters or not. Like if, you got so and so hitting second all year long, they might really enjoy that. I don't know. That's more of a routine and a superstition thing, I think.
Well, you think about it with bullpen guys, and college baseball was so far away from the pro model up until the pro model
Recently.
kind of adopted some of the college stuff.
Yeah.
But college baseball was high leverage anywhere from the third inning to the ninth inning. Our
Yeah.
best two arms are going to be ready to go. And so in the course of a week, those guys are active for maybe two of the 4 games, 3 of the 5 games,
Hmm.
but those guys are active from inning three on. And so they're bubbly, they're having to kind of maintain their adrenaline, they're having to maintain the body awareness. And then when the phone rings, there's an adrenaline spike every time it rings to get somebody hot.
Right.
Whereas in the big league level, you're my sixth inning guy, you're my seventh inning guy. If you're behind, this is how we're going to do it. So everybody knows when the phone rings, they know who's getting up.
Yeah, they have a
So
script.
there's
It's
some
Yep.
control to that. But then you look at how those guys react in the playoffs, and we lose depth in the bullpen in the playoffs because guys are outside of their role.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of it is they don't know who's going to be called on when they need to go get a guy in the fifth to get out of high leverage.
Yeah.
You know,
No, it
and
makes
and how do
sense.
you play with that? So
Yeah, I don't know. I remember when I was with the Brewers, that was the first time I was exposed to some of the more advanced analytics. And, we all kind of had our pockets of the lineup, which I thought was really cool and something that I think, every team is doing now to where like, okay, so and so you have high vert and a good downer curveball, like you're going to be facing 2, 3, 4, right?
right.
Um, and then, okay, these guys really struggle with sink and sweep, this is your pocket, so on and so forth. And obviously we had Josh Hader who was matchup proof. So, and it would say that like it didn't matter. Like you
Right.
just go get them kind of thing. Um,
Your pitch outweighs their ability.
yeah, yeah, we're going with the best bullet. Here you go, buddy. Here's the heater up, and good luck. So, we had a really long conversation about this at the facility the other day, um, and I think it's not as going around as much now, but there was a situation, and correct me if I'm forgetting something, but I believe bases were loaded, bottom of the ninth, right? Blue Jays,
In game seven.
yeah, in game seven, right?
Okay.
Um, Infield was in, okay,
Yep.
because Rojas just hit the homer to tie it. So, anyways, one out, bases loaded. Kiner Falefa is on third. He gets his lead, and the old school way of thinking is, I don't want to say old school, but the way that a lot of people are taught in spring training, Max Schrock, who's our director of hitting, kind of filled me on this, is you want to get just as far away from the bag as the third baseman is, right? Because
We called it stay inside.
yeah, stay inside. You have, I think, Dalton Varsho up. He's a lefty.
Yep.
Wouldn't, and it's a really hard thing, but like everyone's kind of arguing like what to do on Twitter, I've seen. Wouldn't you want to bring in analytics to situations like that to say, hey, Varsho has lined to the shortstop, the pitcher, or the third baseman 1.2% of the time, right? He is much more likely to roll over to second base. Let's get our lead, right? Because I mean, the chances of the Dodgers really backpicking there, I think, are pretty slim as well. Like then you'd have to bring
Right.
that. Like how many times? I think it was Will Smith catching. How many times has Will Smith really truly done a back pick, or how many times have they even freaking did a pick to third
Right.
base? So I think, and in that situation, wouldn't you want more analytics as far as the situation of like, okay, hey, so if I know that Varsho has a 17% chance of rolling over to second base, especially with Yamamoto throwing splitters, that might even up it more. Get that lead off a little bit more, right? And let's go try to win this damn thing.
And
Um,
so I think it's an interesting point, but I think one of the things that makes our sport better and really not better, I think it's better, but really interesting is we don't have the mic in the ear,
mhm.
where we don't have a rookie quarterback who really isn't processing things, and we can tell him to play, and then we can say, if the safety is here, your
Yeah,
first
sure.
check is here.
Right,
And so
right.
now your third base coach is there. He has to have feel. And I know base coaches, they stand on the field for 90% of the time, don't do a whole lot, but there has to be feel in that situation
Hmm.
because how many hand signals, if we're in the first base dugout, are we really going to have a hand signal that's going to tell him what type of lead we want? It's probably
I don't
something
know.
we probably should have addressed.
Yeah,
The other thing I thought about too, and that one play we could break down for 2 hours.
forever. Yeah, we could.
Um,
Yeah.
but the thing that you're seeing in college baseball, high school baseball, it has not made its way to the big leagues yet, but I think it's coming because of plays like this, is
Hmm.
the offensive timeout. So we take the timeout, and if they take the timeout, every now and then you'll see a manager come over and talk to a hitter. Every now and then you'll see the third base coach come talk to the hitter. What they're telling them, maybe they're giving them some juice on what this guy is trying to do in
Sure.
certain counts. But what we're seeing in college baseball now is we're taking the offensive timeout. The third base coach or the manager comes out of the dugout, and all of the base runners come off the field into the
I haven't
manager.
seen that.
Oh yeah, and
Huh.
so you'll see it now that when you watch games this year, you'll see it. And
Okay.
so if the head coach is running the offense out of the dugout, he'll come out. If it's the third base coach that's running the offense, all the base runners will come, and it's just a timeout. And as soon as he's done talking, they go back to the base, just like a trip to the mound.
Mm.
And so now we have that ability to kind of relay to everybody what we're going to do. Going
Interesting.
back to that play, and I haven't seen the overhead angles, but it's a left-handed hitter. The
Yep.
left side of the infield should have been shifted to second because he's a heavy, heavy rollover guy. But the third baseman, for whatever reason, wasn't shifted as heavy, if that's right.
Yeah, because I think he was trying to stay close to the bag.
Somewhat. And
Yeah.
and and I think
To
it's one
keep
of those
him
deals. They're
close.
going, he's not gonna shoot a ball into six holes. Our analytics are telling us the
Right.
ball's going over here. That's just a free guy. We can't move him over there anymore.
Yep.
So he's just gonna stay there and hold that guy close. We called it stay inside.
Yeah.
And so when we were in that situation, we wanted our guys to stay inside the closest fielder, even on their secondary. We had ways out of that though. So as a staff, we talked about if we're in Omaha and if that's the winning run, and if we're not in a position where we're controlling the game with our bullpen, do we want to get outside of what we do? And ultimately, it's going to come from the head coach.
Yeah.
But we had audibles in, like we're going to check to a run. They're
Kill,
they're
kill,
about
kill,
we're
kill.
going to yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we had them in. We had a couple instances where we were in regional situations, regional finals, and trying to get to a super where we're calling some of those audibles, and
Yeah.
and and because the longer the game went, us versus South Carolina at South Carolina, the more the
The
game tilted
odds.
in.
Right, and
And
that's kind
so
of the same thing with the Dodgers, right? Like I feel like
right,
the longer that game went on, it was like, okay, it's really hard to beat them, and like
right.
so. I don't know if I'm right or not. I don't think there's any right or wrong, but I think I would want to know, okay, what is going on in this situation? Let's freaking take, I think he was what was the lead 6 foot? I can't remember what exactly
Yeah,
far he got off. Let's
they
get
they I
taken.
think they said if he got to 12, he would have beat it if he runs through the plate.
Yeah, I don't
And he,
know.
he did. I don't think he got to 10 with
I
his
don't
second.
think. Yeah, I don't remember what the exact numbers were, but it's like knowing the situation, all things considered, I think I lean towards taking a little bit of a lead there, but I think
Yeah,
I'm more a risky
but
a risk
remember what
taker.
happened the night before too. So the night before they end the game with
Yeah.
an aggressive secondary.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
If that ball somehow gets down, he's scoring,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
it's atrocious base running.
Yep.
It's
Terrible.
awful.
Yep.
But he had a chance to be a hero, and now we spent 24 hours condemning hero baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Just give them a chance. Get to the next hitter. We're gonna get
Yeah,
just
I
be
get
who
it.
you are. Stay within.
Mm-hmm.
So you do that for 24 hours and you get that chance again, and the guy stays within. We're gonna be who we are.
Yeah.
Now it's well, what were you doing? And so it's great being on this side
Mm-hmm.
because
We can play
the
it.
conversations everybody's having in public, I guarantee the Blue Jays are going through all of their manuals right now, going, is this what we really believe? We
Mm-hmm.
just lost a World Series because this happened. Do we really believe if that happens again, we did the right thing?
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably a lot of internal searching. I mean,
Yeah.
they had a fantastic season. I mean,
Yeah.
they came within, one play of winning the World Series against arguably the best lineup of all time, at home.
Yep.
So, it obviously you don't want to leave, any stone unturned, but they had a great year. It's just you look back on those things and that would keep me up at night for a long time if I was a manager.
I'm trying to remember. They've got enough old guys too. They know how hard it is to get there.
Oh, it's
It's just
impossible. People don't understand. Getting to the World Series, let alone winning, it's damn near impossible.
yeah.
Like it is so hard to do, and those opportunities are. I don't know if they ever get that again. I mean that
Well,
AL is
and
good too.
you're not going to get 3 or 4 weeks next year where you're kind of going through your season and people are trying to figure out, oh, okay, the Blue Jays are coming in. Let's go through our no, the American League champions are coming in.
What would you have done?
No,
Would you have gotten a little bit bigger of a lead, or you staying within?
no, left-handed hitter that rolls the ball over, we would have extended.
Yeah. Okay.
Can't get picked. So I would have been worried about the back pick from the catcher
Yeah.
as close to the third baseman was just because the third baseman shouldn't be there.
Right. Right.
And so that stood out as odd to me. So if I'm a third base coach, we want to extend, we want to get to our normal leads and our normal reads, but it's got to be an aggressive back as
Hmm.
soon as we see the ball clear the hitting zone.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Like maybe take a walking. I don't know. I mean, there's different ways you can kind of go about it. Maybe take a walking lead, and like you said, through the zone, like you see it, boom, get back as quick as you
Yeah.
can. Um,
The other thing that you see, and I've seen this more at the college level. I've seen it happen a couple times at the pro level. But if you go bases loaded, it really doesn't matter the score. Bases loaded, 2 outs, ground ball to short.
okay.
The runner on first should run through the bag at second.
Run through and keep going to
Yep,
third.
don't slide. Run through the back because
I've seen that too. I've heard that. Yeah.
if he beats that throw, now it's a tag play. The run scores,
Hmm.
and so that same idea that I thought was a bigger error. You can get deep in the weeds on your philosophy on where the lead should be, but
Hmm.
I don't know that him sliding into the bag,
Yeah.
especially at home plate, because they're so hard to get your foot onto the plate to actually tag it. I think
Hmm.
you have to run through in that situation.
So you're talking about at home there. Like he shouldn't have
Yeah.
slid.
Yeah, it's not something you see a lot. Like the one at second, people talk about all the time because that
Yeah.
force
Right.
play happens, twice a week.
Right.
We're going to run through the bag there. If we beat it, then we're going to
Keep
try to get
going.
back on the line to go to third. We'll
Hmm.
make the out. We're going to get one run out of it.
Sure.
On that play at home, I mean, how many times in the bottom of the ninth throughout the entire year has a forced play been made at the plate throughout the entire league? Once per team,
Maybe. Yeah.
maybe 50 times.
Maybe.
And
Yeah. Huh. Where is there numbers like as far as like time to beat to home plate? Like as far as what is it, what's the fastest way? Is it diving head first? Is it sliding, feet first? Is it just running through? Do we have any info on that?
I'm assuming it's running through. I don't
Yeah.
have the numbers, but just from the standpoint of those guys, they struggle when they slide into home. It's a struggle for them to get their foot onto it.
Yeah, because it's
So
something.
we're always taught if we run through it, we're always faster. I've seen guys that are faster going to first base diving.
Uh-huh.
Still an injury issue. So
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of that, but I've seen
sure.
guys that are faster diving for whatever reason.
Right.
Most people are not. But we would time that and check that with guys that were good at it and
Mm-hmm.
just kind of, hey, here's what you are.
Kind of
We
eat.
always knew our steel break times. We knew steel break times from third as well. I don't know. I think in my entire career we still home once, but we
Yeah.
knew everybody's steel break time. Um, but I don't know that I ever had a run through time to home.
Yeah, I don't know if
People may have that from here on out, though.
oh yeah, in spring training, you know for a fact that's going to be they'll be doing that. Like
Well,
it's
there's analysts. That's their only job now, is figure out
yeah.
what numbers we need. And spring training days are already long for those guys. Now you got some guy carrying around a clipboard wearing
Yeah,
khakis going, "Hey, I need you to
doing
run
this.
another sprint."
Yeah. Yeah, we're running through home plate today. Yeah, those PFP days were miserable. No, it's good. It's just, we have all these conversations constantly. And I just wonder, like you said, I think MLB will start to have more of these like offensive timeouts to kind of go over situational things, because moments like that are too large to not.
Yep.
People will look at it and be like, oh, nobody wants to talk to me while I'm playing. Like it's just kind of an old school way of thinking. But I think you're going to have to for those situations, right? To get everybody on the same page, make sure the play, if you will, is intact, and there's a lot. Yeah,
Well, there's just so much information out here, even at the high school
yeah,
level. The scouting
right.
reports they have at the high school level, the college level. I missed that the charting systems by a year, maybe 2 years. They had
Hmm.
started to come out, but they weren't very good.
Yeah,
And now, you don't have to play on TV.
right.
Your games are being
Everything's
charted.
good. Through media.
All that information's coming, and the charts they have on hitters now, and where their heat zones are, and where they're going to hit the ball. I mean, it's unbelievable. They
Yeah,
College level has enough information they can say this is where he's going to hit it. We don't have to have middle guys that can run 6.60s anymore
right.
because I know where he's going to hit it. I have to have middle guys that can catch the ball, exchange, and throw. And my second baseman has to have arm strength because he's going to play on the left side of the field.
That was gonna be one of my questions is like how has recruiting changed as far as, when I was going through it, we didn't have chart like we had guys that come watch maybe an inning or two and like, oh, that guy looks good. Like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll give him an offer. Now, you have all these events and my question is like, do you guys use True Media? Like I don't think high school has access to that. I don't know if there's like when you guys do showcases, what is kind of the information that's going out to these college coaches? What do they get?
Yeah. So for us at prep baseball, they're getting, if you go into the player profile, there's all sorts of information there.
Yeah.
They, most of them don't have access to anything other than what we're publishing on that forward-facing website. They're olden days when this technology started coming and people were ahead of the curve and people understood how to kind of data scrape,
Yep.
they were getting more than what was being published.
Hmm.
And for us, it's not a standpoint of we're hiding stuff or we don't want it out there. It's just only so much we can put out.
Right.
And you start thinking about like with TrackMan, there's I don't know what the exact number is, but it's like 400 pieces of data on every pitch that's thrown over the course of 60 feet.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't need to know what the velocity of the pitch was at 30 feet. If I have max and velocity on that pitch, I got an idea of what the pitch did.
Sure.
So that information has allowed them to kind of start building their profile of what they want.
Mm.
Um, where you're seeing it go now and what we're doing on our back end, we're getting ready to release an app that our data team's been working on for over a year now. That app, I don't know when it's coming, but I'm seeing some of the beta stuff and some of the things that are out there and the way we're now contextualizing the data. So it's not just going to be, hey, here's the velocity and here's the movement pattern and here's the spin rate. Now we're going to be able to put this into a model where it shows you this is why this guy throwing at 90 with 15 inches of horizontal run at 1800. This is why his play is different than this guy who's
Mm.
throwing at 90 with 1600 RPMs and 15 inches of run. You look at the data points, you go, it's the same pitch. But when we start putting, the models on there and showing when the pitch is moving and how it's moving and how it's affecting hitters and where the release point is and
Yeah.
all of these things, now we're getting a better picture of how that actually plays for that individual.
Right.
Colleges and universities have that already in terms of the way they're viewing their systems. It's the ability for, you know, companies like Prep Baseball and putting that data out
Right.
and how now we see everybody else is using that data. So now we can model to be, a step ahead of that curve as well.
Sure. Yeah, no, we have our own
Yep.
in-house pitch scoring system too, where like
Yep.
you have to take in like VAA and release side, release
Yep.
height, all those things to get a really clear picture. Extension's another big one, obviously. Like there's just so many variables I think that go into what make a good pitch. And if you can find ways to to quantify that, it makes scouting that much easier, I think, right? Like what for you as a former college coach, and you can, talk about your career, as a college coach. Obviously, you had a great one. Um, how much have you seen the game change since like you were recruiting, right? And like what,
Yeah.
what were some of the things when you first started coaching in college? Like what were the things that you were looking at, like high school players, and if you were to coach now, how has that shifted, I guess?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that people that are not involved in it daily struggle with is that ability to match up the pure stuff and what that player is doing versus the developmental system. So when I was a young coach, let's go get the best arms. Let's go get these best guys. As I started getting into it a little bit more, I started seeing, hey, there's a group of guys here that every time we get this type of guy, he gets a lot better. And there's
Mhm.
another group of guys, and this is a highly recruited guy, and we won some battles and we got him here, and then he just didn't do anything.
Right.
And when I'm younger, I'm going, boy, these guys are really working hard, and this guy just didn't, he didn't want it. As you start getting older, what you start to figure out is these guys listen because what I'm saying fits what they do.
Okay.
And this guy's struggling with what I'm trying to teach him. So, now you have guys that are sink slide guys or high spin guys and ride guys and early pronators and how are you going to teach a breaking ball to an early pronator or can you teach cutter? Can you teach slider? Or are you just going to fight him? He's going to throw overhand breaking ball even though he can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's early on, 15, 20 years ago, you just kept trying to mess with the breaking ball to find it.
Sure. Yeah.
Now you go, he can't do that. And
Yeah.
we're
Why
seeing a
try?
lot of change-up development more than breaking ball development. Change-up development now, you've got guys throwing a kick change and throwing split and throwing variations of split.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that is because we can see what the hand's doing as it's releasing with these high-speed cameras, and then we can see what the ball's doing, and we go, that ball's not doing what it's supposed to do. That is not an effort issue. Whereas 20 years ago, it was an effort issue. It was
Yeah.
a mentality issue. It was a work ethic issue. It's
Right.
not. It's a physical issue. He physically
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense because I could, and I wasn't a very good athlete, but I could do that. And well, how can you not do that? You're such a much better athlete than I am.
Right.
But now we know.
Yeah.
And so
Shoulder to
now
into. Yeah.
we have a better idea on that. So now, what kind of guy do we recruit? You know, the SEC is a great proving ground for this, where your background in Ole Miss and has done a great job developing arms over the course of Coach Bianco's time there, and
Hmm.
their practices and their principles, and there are guys that have fit. They've kind of molded that now, and you're seeing some different types of arms come out of there. But there was a stock guy that came through that system for a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
time.
for
You
sure.
think about the lefties they rolled out there and the breaking ball those guys had.
Hmm.
Th- They're
Pomerantz. Yeah.
figuring out now they can recruit to X, Y, and Z. You go down the road to Starkville, a new staff there, and the
Uh-huh.
way that they develop pitching may be A, B, and C. So these two guys are going to play each other, and realistically, they're both recruiting high-end arms from across the country, but they should be recruiting different guys because their developmental systems fit differently with what they're doing. Now, there's outliers out there.
Sure.
We've got Connor Salerno as a junior in North Carolina, is at Sun Valley High School here in Indian Trail, where I'm at, and is committed to Mississippi State. He just needs to get there.
Yeah.
There are guys that have the stuff. Just getting, he's ready to face college hitters.
Yeah.
He's ready to face pro hitters, and then he's going to use that feedback. He's going to be fine.
Right.
But it's the next tier. Really, really good arms, really, really good athletes. But if I can develop one more thing, whether it's command or presence or management, just managing the game,
Yeah.
those things kind of take that pitching staff to that next level
Right.
versus, am I a bubble team in getting the SEC tournament or am I an Omaha team? And that line and that conference is that thin.
So thin.
And so you take it down a notch to, Power Five teams in our state, I got Wilmington and Charlotte behind me, places I was at. And that line from not making the tournament to being a super regional type team, it's that thin.
Hmm.
And so it's just that ability. Can we develop depth when an arm hat struggles for a little bit? Can I go to the next guy? Is that guy ready? What is it my staff does really well, and can I constantly put them in those positions so that they can handle that aspect?
Yeah. Makes a ton of sense. I mean, with Ole Miss has Joel Mangrum now as their pitching guy, and he's done a fantastic job, like you were saying. They've kind of they have different type of arms now, right? Like they have guys rolling out there in the pen in like the sixth inning throwing 96, 97.
Right.
And we didn't have that when I was there, right? So the importance of that pitching development, I think, is crucial, um, to try to make that margin a little closer, right?
When we talk about how are we going to attack hitters,
Yeah,
how are we going to
exactly.
attack
With all the
lineups,
data
and we
that's
talk,
there, like like okay, I need this guy to face, like what I was talking about with the Brewers. I need this guy to face these guys. Okay, we got him. Now we have our percentages go way up of winning this game because the odds are in our favor because this matchup plays so much better.
when you talked about that lineup dump of, hey, this area of the lineup's
Yeah.
you and this area of the lineup, and when I wasn't that long ago I was coaching, the ability to kind of differentiate your lineup was left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, switch left, right.
Yeah.
Now it's, handles velocity, handles breaking balls, so we
Mm-hmm.
want that variation of left, right, but we also want different types of hitters
Yeah.
layered through there so that they can't go to one guy
And have that
in
pocket.
fifth.
Yep.
Yeah, we want to get rid of that pocket. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you think about the guys that you came up with and the strengths that you saw in LSU and Georgia and Florida and Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Those guys, you would go into a weekend and go, man, this is a power arm, power slider team.
Yep.
This
Oh
is
yeah.
what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a couple lefties are going to change pace with, but their guys are power arm, power. Now you look at it, and one of the things I saw when I think the Rays won the World Series, I don't know how many years ago, but they showed a chart of the arms they used in the playoffs,
Uh-huh.
and then they put them on a clock. So they had each guy standing, they had their slot, and the entire clock
Yeah, I saw
was
that.
taken.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sitting there going, you talk about change of pace and you talk about the ability to attack guys different ways. And, every at bat, you're having to adapt to what the arm is going to do to you.
Right.
That is a lot different than what we dealt with. And I think
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing enough power majors, mid majors, D2, really good D2 programs
Yeah.
are developing that. They're having that ability where it's not just stuff, because now stuff is readily available. There's a
Yeah.
lot of guys throwing
Everywhere.
hard.
Right.
Now it's the ability to change looks constantly. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just slider, 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 slider. And if I'm getting you out, it's gonna be a long weekend for you. And if you solve the puzzle, it's gonna be a long couple of days for me trying to figure out how to get out of those innings.
Right.
Because now once you solve the puzzle, I completely change the picture.
Yeah, I remember when I was with the Brewers too, we had our I think he's director of player development or pitching, Jake McKinley. He's the head coach at Nevada now. Um,
Yeah.
and I asked him, I always ask this question, I'm gonna ask you this too, like what's next? Like what is next in player development? Because it's constantly evolving, constantly changing as it should. And his answer to me, this was back in 2019, I think it was 2019. He said, I think you're going to start seeing guys with different arm angles. Like as far as like, hey, you got a guy that can maybe, really ride it from here, but then sink it from down here, or ride it from down here and sink from down here and create like a different effects. And as pitchers become, more and more athletic, which I think they have, hopefully, you're going to be able to see guys be able to manipulate a little bit more. And I think you're starting to see. I mean, you got guys freaking throwing from both sides more common now.
Right.
Like so, I think he's got a great point there, and I think that's coming into the game more and more. But I'll ask you that question: like, what do you think is next in kind of pitching development or hitting, either one?
So I, I try to take the kind of the airplane view of that, and where are we at, and
Sure.
it's easy to kind of dissect it in football terms because we see it a little bit more in football.
Yeah.
But you think about, the 80s and early 90s in football, it was I formation, it was option football, it was hat on a hat, it was a lot of guys in the box, it was press coverage. And then Spurrier comes out and spreads everybody out. Now we're going to throw the ball over everybody's heads.
Yep.
And then now we back our safeties up, but we still want to throw the ball. So now we're going to spread it, and we're going to, dink and dunk you down the field and take shots. And
Hmm.
so then the defense adjusts, and now it's spread, but power spread. So we're going to go to run out of the spread.
You have
And so it's
RPOs.
that
Yeah.
evolution.
Hmm.
And every time there's a step taken, what's the next one? So I think the step that we've seen has been the evolution of stuff, the ability to kind of it was just pure velocity. How do we trick the concept of the arm and the arm path? and what really is happening with our lower half and what's really happening with our trunk rotation. And
Sure.
now the science is saying, okay, if you do X, Y, and Z, you're gonna throw harder.
Yep.
And you're seeing, and that's one of the things I kind of kick myself out on, because you look back and go, if they just worked harder, if they just done this, if they just done, it wasn't that. The kids want to work. If you
Hmm.
tell them, if you show them, I can get you from here to here, but you just have to do these things, they will do it.
Yeah.
They just want to see that progress. And so now we've seen the velocity take off. So then the next thing was everybody's going to get velocities beating everybody. No, it's not, because we got machines and hitters are going to get caught up to velocity.
Sure.
So now it's spin. And so now can we manipulate spin? Can we create sweepers? Can we create the different types of angles that are really going to affect hitters? I think the next part is can we go back to with that type of stuff? Can we get back into a mind frame of pitching and attacking the zone with some artistry?
Mm.
Are guys able to command the stuff? And in saying that, I think you're seeing guys that contribute at the college level very early are guys that learned to pitch and then had stuff come along.
Right.
So the guys that have had stuff and just able to live on just pure velocity and pure spin and just hammer guys and just flood the zone, just go attack and they overpower the hitter. They get to a point where they can't do that anymore, and then they fizzle out. Those guys a lot of times don't make the adjustment.
Hmm.
Where you see guys making the adjustments are the guys that have had to pitch, even at the lower levels, little league and rec ball and early stages of
Sure.
travel baseball. They have to throw strikes. They have to be inventive. They have to figure out ways to get good hitters out. They have to live. Contact is fine. I'm just going to dictate the contact you get.
Right.
And so then we get their stuff. They mature later. We put on weight. We make them more physical. We improve arm action. The stuff comes, but they still have that background in pitching. So I think the next evolution is, can we develop the guys that have power stuff or the more physically advanced kids?
Yeah.
Can we develop that mentality of pitchability and creativity on the mound that other guys are getting when they're younger because they have to?
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I see that a lot at the youth level. I think we talked about it in our last conversation, some of that, but a lot of the youth kids that are late bloomers, but you can just watch them and they're throwing and they can really move and
Right.
they have great movement patterns. Obviously the velo's not there because they're kids, right? But like they can manipulate, they can do certain things, and you're like, oh, this kid's gonna be good, right?
Yeah.
Because really they're in zone, like it's a good throw. But then the parents are like, well, why isn't he throwing harder? It's like, I don't really care right now, right?
Right.
Like it doesn't matter as long as we're building the skills that matter that are going to get him, once he puts weight on, once he, is kind of in a weight room or college weight, whatever it is, right? And is able to mature, that's when you're going to start to see those guys, really take off, right? And I think you can start to see that at the youth level too. Obviously, there's no guarantees, but the ones that we work with are, the ones that can really manipulate and spin and put it in zone and move well. Like those are the ones I think have the highest ceilings too, because
Right.
you have to pitch. Like you just have to.
Right. There's going to come
Um,
a point.
there is, right? Like you can only outstuff people for so long, right? Look, you're gonna outstuff people in the big leagues. That's great, but like you watch Skeens, like there was a video I watched. I can't remember who did it on YouTube, but maybe Foolish Baseball, and I could be wrong there, but he did a video on like how Greg Maddux and Paul Skeens are more alike than uh, you know Chapman or whoever they compared it to
Right.
of how well Skeens is able to command the zone. Um, which is incredible. And I think that's why we're watching arguably the best pitcher of all time. Because if you can, like you're saying, if you can stuff and command, you're gonna have good results. Like Paul's had a freaking under a two for 2 years. It's
Right.
insane. It's insane. You know?
And he's a good case study too for one of the evolutions that's happening. And you get to your parents are saying, when's the development going to happen? When is he going to get, one of my answers to them a lot of times, in a jokingly truthful matter, is it's your fault. It's genetics. It's not his fault. It's your
Yeah.
fault.
Scooball's the same way. He had one Power Four offer, or not in no
Right.
one D1 offer to
Right.
Seattle University or whatever it was.
And you
It
look at
doesn't
the
matter.
body he had in high school, and the body he had in his first years at Seattle versus the guy he was as a junior.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
it's
Different guys.
and Skeens talked about. Obviously he was the guy when he left Air Force. I mean,
Sure.
or nobody wanted him in a regional. LSU got him. They kind of got by that game,
Yeah.
but he was a known commodity at that point.
Sure.
He was a dual guy. He's doing the Air Force routine. He couldn't put weight on. They're up early, they're up late. The
Yeah.
academic rigors, the physical rigors of what they're doing. He went to LSU and instantly bang puts on 35 pounds or whatever it was. And the velocity jumped some, but it was more about his ability to carry the velocity and carry
Hold it
his
for
stuff
9. Yeah.
inning to inning, outing to outing.
Hmm.
And he had an interview where he talked. He said, "Our weight room guys here at LSU have done a great job, but the biggest difference is I'm sleeping. I have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get my bed right at Air Force.
Yeah.
Here, I didn't have class until 10 and it was online.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
sleeping and I put on weight. We've seen, one of the things that's happened here since COVID has been this evolution of the the academy baseball teams. And some are really good and some are trying to find their footing.
Academy
But
in
one
high
of the
school, you're
things,
saying?
what's that?
Academy is like in high school or
Yeah.
okay, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the homeschool kids that play on the
Yeah.
academy team or
Right.
and one of the things that I've seen with this is you see, man, Jeffrey he went there and he instantly they got velocity on him and they did this and going, well, he's working with the same people he was working with before. What really happened was that the public school system has him trying to get on the bus at 6:30 or 6:45 in the morning. And then his homework, because it's a fairly academically rigorous high school he was attending, maybe, and he's working till 10 o'clock at night because of his baseball stuff and his homework
Sure.
stuff. He's not in bed till 10:30. He's not sleeping enough.
Hmm.
We know now at this age how much sleep they have to have. We didn't know that 15, 20 years ago. We guessed,
Right.
but now we know these guys have how much sleep they have to recover their calories. We also know we can do blood testing on these guys. And think about your nutrition plan when you were in pro ball and in college, and what I was dealing with trying to get guys. We're going to Jersey Mike's, and we got Chick-fil-A coming in after the games.
Yeah.
Now they're doing blood tests on guys. This
Yeah.
is the times you should be eating. This is what you should be eating, and this is how much you should be eating. And if you
Right.
do that, you put on 20 pounds. And the science has gotten so good that that old adage of mass equals gas, if you can move and then I can put 20 pounds on you and you can still move, you're going to
Hmm.
throw hard.
Yeah.
You don't do anything else different.
Right.
You can't get slower, but if you can still move and you're heavier, you're going to throw harder. So now we know how to do that.
Yeah.
And it's that idea of when do we have to develop them, I think is one of the questions we've got to answer as a baseball community, because we do see guys developing at 14 and 15 and 16. But do they hit a peakish kind of,
Yeah.
or should they be developing at 22, 23, 24?
Hmm.
You're losing out on money if you do that because the NIL's gone. But
Yeah.
is that healthier? Is that a better system to put the weight on, because is the body ready to handle the speeds the arms moving
I
if
think so.
190 pounds?
I think so. I mean, it's kind of like, when we were younger, I'm sure you had guys in Little League or whatever you played that always, maybe hit puberty earlier and they
Yep.
threw way harder than everybody else. And it's like, well, it's a different game. It's a different sport at that point. And then those guys just kind of fall into the trap of like, oh, I'm just throw harder than everybody else. Like I'm the man kind of thing. And then, you get to 17 years old and, those guys have caught up a little bit, right? Because maybe you didn't
Right.
move as well or you didn't do, whatever it was. So I always tell people like I think late bloomers are going to have a better or a longer career a lot of the times, right? So I don't know. It's just, and I know everyone's going to develop at their own pace. Like there's, like you said, genetics are really the ultimate factor in this whole thing as far as when you start to develop. But um, I mean, I don't know. Is that something that we could do? Like, could you try to be more involved later on in the career, or is it too late at that point? I mean, that's kind of a double-edged sword, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of having a community that understands that evolution is going to happen.
Yeah.
So, there, I've read this with different developmental books and um, people talking about, I think it was the Canadian hockey program. And they looked at the Canadian hockey program. Well, they're identifying players really early because obviously
Hmm.
there's a lot of skill that has to go in with the skating.
Yep.
But when they got to their national team, they're looking at it going, all of our guys on our national team were born in January to May, all of them.
Hmm.
And they're trying to figure out why. Well, you go back to when they're 10 years old and we start dividing teams up. Better players are going to go to this program. These players are going to go to this program. Well, the better players are going to the better coaches. And so they're getting more ice time. They're playing on the elite team or the national team or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and that continues from 10 to 16 to 17. Now the Canadian national team comes in and they're starting to handpick these guys, and they're all in this range of January to May birth dates. When you start thinking about the development of kids, and at 8, 9, and 10, 6 months is a huge developmental difference. So somebody born in January and somebody born in October of 2000, they're playing in the same system,
Hmm.
but that's 10 months difference in their development. So in a one-on-one deal, you'll have some October dates that you'll
Sure.
get through. But over the course of time, there's going to be more kids that are physically stronger and able to move at 8, 9, 10 years old that were born in January 2000 versus October of 2000.
Hmm.
And now we separate them and we put them on this team with the better coaches. They're getting better coaching, they're getting more ink time. And now 7 years later, we've gotten rid of half the audience.
Half the pool here.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
from a baseball standpoint, how do we how do we at younger ages understand that development's going to happen? Winning is important.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I think that competitiveness is important, and being in situations where you have to lose and learn and get better is very important. But also, from a developmental standpoint, Johnny isn't throwing as hard yet because the other one's already started shaving. Johnny is barely even tying his own shoes.
Yeah. Right.
Johnny still needs the innings. Johnny
Uh-huh.
still needs the at bats because in 3 years, when he's shaving and the other guy is still shaving and he hadn't got any bigger, Johnny may blow past him,
Hmm.
but we haven't given him the reps because in winning time, we're going to the bigger, stronger guy.
So what's the solution to that?
That's a great question. I have one in T-ball right now, and I'm going to let some people that are ahead of me figure it out. So I'm just riding on the coattails right now. I don't have an answer to it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just something I just to be aware of.
Sure.
You guys have different ranges of people come through your system and through your facility and
Yep.
different ways of training them and so you're seeing that wide range. I would say that the people that are running rec leagues or all-star teams or travel programs, just have that open-mindedness to just because this is my A team now doesn't mean that there's not 6 kids on the B team, the C team that are going to be on the A team in 5 years.
Hmm.
So I've got to spend as much time, as much effort developing all of these guys because some of these guys are going to blow past the guys on the A team as it sits right now.
Yeah. And I think if you're truly in the business of developing players, like I think travel baseball needs to have a shift. You know, it, it's it's a wild west. That's how I always describe it to
Yeah.
parents, right? Is like you have anybody can start a team at any point, right? Baseball knowledge or not, it's just in a really strange place, right? And if, like I said, if you're in the business of trying to develop kids and get the most out of them, helping them realize their potential in baseball, I think there's got to be some sort of structural change.
Well,
Because
it's a matter of what do we value? Do we value competition or do we value development? And
mhm.
then how much does that have to interlace?
Yeah, but
It,
then
it
there's some
can't be
people that
all of one
value
or
the
all of
money
the
side.
other.
You know what I mean? Where it's like there's some people that don't even value either of them, I think.
Right.
And that's where the big problem is because I do think there's got to be a balance of both of those. You have to be able to learn how to win. And I think you have to learn how to lose too, though. Like,
And competition, high level competition, and being put in situations where you may get your brains beat in,
yeah,
will show deficiencies.
for
You know,
sure.
we talked about. I'm interested to hear if you guys did this in pro ball and at Ole Miss, but
Hmm.
we didn't touch our freshmen for about 4 weeks when they got on campus. Our only goal as coaches for their first 4 weeks was to put them in drill situations that they were going to fail.
Mm,
If Johnny had a loop in his swing, he's going to see high level velocity at the top of the zone off a machine
yeah.
for 4 weeks. And he's just going to get beat down. Well, guess what? When we bring him in at the end of 4 weeks, go, hey, there's some adjustments we'd like to talk to you about making with your swing. He's going to go, yes, please. I'm
Hmm.
tired of looking like an idiot. I need help. Why haven't you guys been helping me? But if we do that on day one, because we see it on day one,
Hmm.
he's going, wait a minute now. I hit 600 over my course of high school. I led the state in home runs last year. What? You want to change my swing? I don't think so. And
Hmm.
now you're fighting for 4 weeks. And now he thinks the reason he's failing is because you're trying to mess with the swing.
Yeah.
And so we didn't touch them for 4 weeks.
Just let it happen.
Bullpens, we just went to bullpen. You can't get to glove side. Guess where most of your bullpen is going to be spent, and we're just going to chart your misses.
Hmm.
And I'm just going to show them to you. Hey, this isn't the level. We'll get there. We'll get to keep working. We'll get there. And at the end of the 4 weeks, I'm going to say, here's some of the things we'd like to do,
Right.
and they're going to want to do that. So that competition piece is extremely important because it
Yes.
does show the deficiencies and it opens them up to learning.
Yeah.
But it's that developmental system too.
Yeah.
How are we taking BP? Are we taking ground balls? The number of times I try to go watch a shortstop in the summers and in the falls and see if he can actually catch a ground ball. And then I watch him play for 3 days and I don't see a single ball hit to him and I don't see him field a single ground ball off of, a fungo or with any type of action. Maybe he's in a single file line and they're hitting him a two hop ground ball he can catch on the grass, but never changes surface and never, no top spin or anything like that. I'm not that good an evaluator. I got an idea if he can move, but
Right.
that development piece and the reps are important as well.
Yeah. No, you, you sparked a memory for me. I remember, kind of not off topic, but Coach B would always make the freshman umpire, the scrimmages during the
Yep.
fall. And it put you more in a mental development position to where like if you had a senior that wanted to challenge your call, right? Like you kind of had to stand up to him a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Or like, are you going to back down? Like, what are you going to do? I remember I backed down one of the first calls I made, and I was just terrified, man. Like as a 18-year-old kid at Ole Miss, like, I'm playing with these grown men. I'm like
Yeah.
170 pounds. And it's just you look back on those things and you hate them in the moment because you're like, why is he making me do this? But then, you think about it as you mature and get older, and it's like, oh, I think there was actually a lot to that. There was something to that to where it kind of built some mental toughness. I think that those type of things do better than making people run for punishment or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, again, um, it's just finding the balance of those two, the development structure and the competition structure. I think, especially, at all levels, but if you want to like kind of talk middle school, early high school, I think a lot of that is missed,
Right.
for some of these travel ball organizations and things like that. But um, is what it is.
I'm in an interesting point right now too. I coached at a fairly high level in my mind, at least,
Yeah, you
for
did.
close to 20 years, and
Hmm.
I've been a part of the national team, and I've been at some different levels, the Division I level. And my dad was the high school coach. My brother coached the junior college level and Division I level. So you're seeing all that, and now I've got a daughter that's 9, and she's playing. They call it challenge. It's travel soccer is what it is.
Hmm.
And I've got a son that's in T-ball. The T-ball part I've got a pretty good handle on that one, but the soccer part's been fun. My wife and her family's background is soccer, and watching how she's kind of gone into that developmental system. And somehow, some way in Mint Hill, North Carolina, my daughter's team is affiliated with Liverpool.
Hmm.
So they're head to toe Liverpool. We're watching Liverpool on Saturdays and the Champions League and things like that. But across the league, the coaches for our club and for a lot of the other clubs are very upfront with no coaching from the sidelines. You can cheer, but allow the kids to make decisions. And it's a unique deal. So if you're a soccer player and you receive the ball and there's pressure coming and you've got to decide, am I going to try to beat this one on one? Am I going to try to go to an outlet? Do I see the field? And now a parent's going, Judy's open, pass to Judy.
Mm.
Okay, now I can look, find Judy, and I can make the pass. But I've robbed that player of that ability to make that decision. I've
Learning
robbed
the
that
feel
player of
of
that
it all.
ability,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
to really see it because now I've got people doing it for me and trying to apply that to, baseball development. And I think baseball is a little bit different, obviously, because we have downtime. So we can review things as they're happening, whereas
Yeah. Right.
soccer is a little bit more like football where it's happening and happening and happening.
Hmm.
But that idea of not giving them all the answers and not giving it's okay. Throw the bullpen. Well, what
Mm.
did you think of that pitch? I have thoughts, but throw the bullpen. BP. I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to say good job. I'm not going to say great hit, great swing. I'm not going to give you any feedback. You give me feedback.
Yeah. You
When we
tell me.
finish the round, and again, it's somewhat experimental from that standpoint, but I think at times in the developmental system, we feel time pressed, and so we want to give them answers. We want to give them cheat codes to the test,
Right.
where I think the learning curve can be sped up if we force them.
to learn
to
it.
connect those dots on their own with help occasionally,
Sure.
putting them in, again, putting them in drills that force that at times. But um, that aspect of what I'm going through now, and watching my daughter and having to trying to keep my mouth shut, I'm okay at it. Um,
Good luck.
that's it's I'm obviously always looking to see how can we apply that.
Right. We'll go back. It goes back to kind of like the helmet communication thing, like with football. Like I feel like
Right.
because I obviously I'm an Ole Miss guy, and you hear, Lane Kiffin talk about it all the time as far as how, he's a quarterback guru, and they have the helmet communication to where they can talk up until 15 seconds. Like he's literally telling the quarterback, hey, this is what defense they're in. Like this is
Right.
what you need to do. And then I think there was a stat that came out where like Ole Miss leads the country in passing yards per game by pretty large margins since helmet communication came out.
Yeah.
So it's I think, a little off topic, but college football, well, college coaching in general, I think means so much more now. So it's just interesting. I never really thought of it that way in the sense of, hey,
Well,
you're gonna lose feel for the game because I'm gonna tell you what to do. Like, is it really good
so
for the development? I don't know.
apply it to your college days. And Coach Bianco was a catcher back when he was at LSU,
Hmm.
and kind of that field manager and saw the field. Think about what you guys would do in terms of bunt defenses and first and thirds and cuts and relays and the communication that happened on the field
Sure.
versus what we see now. And I think the part of the communication issue is cell phones and iPads and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Kids don't understand how to talk and
AI.
how to communicate. But the communication was something that early on when I was playing and early on in my coaching career, it happened and it was natural. And the seniors taught the younger guys how to communicate. But
Hmm.
then as I got later in my career, you would notice, that communication that was naturally kind of happening over time had deteriorated.
Hmm.
And you step back and get out of coaching a little bit and you're looking at it going, well, they're being given everything. They have the wristbands now. So when I call, if I'm on my face and I'm calling fastball in and a 1-2 count, my catcher has to think with me. Are we
Hmm.
attacking with that fastball, or are we setting something else up? Am I going on the plate? Am I going off the plate? Am I trying to elevate a little bit? Do I want it down? What is my body language to the pitcher going to be so he knows exactly where this pitch is? Now we just tell him, hey, fastball in, belt,
Hmm.
off.
Yeah.
But you can't, there's no way for me to signal 16 different things. And so the players had to think that game a little bit. Now we go to the wristbands, now we go to the communication. I can tell them exactly what I want done. So that thought process of where I want them in the game isn't as good as it was 10 years ago.
Do you think?
On top of they don't watch the game the way the game was watched 20 years ago. They watch in segments and pieces and highlights.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what they're trying to do are segments and pieces and highlights versus that grand understanding of everything is connected.
I got two questions off that. Would you, if you went to go coach a college baseball team right now, would you call pitches?
Not in
Knowing
the
what you,
fall.
not in the fall.
No, they would. So my mortgage is determined by our ability to win. There's going to
Sure.
come a point,
You'd
but
have to take it, yeah.
in 2007 we had the number one pitching staff in the country. 2011 we had the top three pitching staff in the country. Those two clubs, every single pitch was called by the catchers. My job
During the
was
game? Like
every pitch. Yeah, we had catchers that can handle it. They
got it.
were they were really good. Two of them are in coaching now.
Got it.
Or one, well, not now. One was in coaching with us for a while and got out, was doing really well, and one's an assistant at App State. So their their ability to kind of grow and nurture that has continued, but they
Hmm.
had feel. And so I tell people all the time, I can call the perfect game from the side. I can tell you what pitch should be thrown. We all have analytics now that go, hey, in this situation with this hitter, you should be throwing 65% slider. And this is, but as pitchers, there are times where I can't make that pitch. I know in
Hmm.
my mind, I'm a changeup guy. I have good feel for my changeup. The last inning and a half, I'm cutting my changeup. I don't have the physical capability to fix that right now. If I throw a changeup here, he's going to jump ship. I know the analytics say throw changeup. I know the dugout's telling me to throw change. I'm not throwing changeup. So do I have the freedom to shape? Do I have the freedom to throw what pitch I have with confidence? The other thing I always talked about was if I was suggesting pitches, my pitchers had complete autonomy to shake. I know the LSU system, and you guys probably used it at Ole Miss. And wow, one pitch worked off
System.
another and
Oh yeah.
built into this. And there really wasn't a whole lot of freedom at times, especially for younger guys.
Yep.
But our freshmen had complete freedom because we've all been there where, we're taking our sign and we're going breaking ball, fastball in. Okay, it's interesting. I'll go. You get to leg lift, and all of a sudden you're right here going, should have thrown breaking ball. And then that ball rings off the scoreboard.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. All been there. Yep.
So I think the bad pitch thrown with 100% confidence is better than the great pitch thrown with 50% confidence.
Hmm.
And so how do we get to that? Well, there has to be some understanding. But what we're seeing more and more with pitchers now is there's no confidence in anything. They're not, it's not a matter of because they're not thinking the game. They're robots. Fastball, okay, I'll throw that.
Yep.
Breaking ball, okay, I'll throw that.
The
And
field's
there's
gone.
now we get to that situation, it's second and third one out, it's left on left, but this left-hander really is doing a good job against me, and I haven't been able to find the hole. The right-hander on deck, I haven't even thought about, but if I really want to look ahead, I've dominated him.
Right.
The book says attack left on left, but that base is open. I'm not attacking him because I know I can get that guy out. But if I'm just robotic on the mound, fastball, okay, boom, breaking ball, okay. I'm not thinking everything that's happening.
Hmm.
I'm just reacting to whatever number is put down or whatever's said in my ear, and I just try to robotically go through that. And then that game management piece is lost.
So does MLB ever go to that? And the reason I'm asking is because obviously you have going back to the football thing, like you have your helmet communication with the head coach. Like if MLB has all these data analysts and all these people that are in the front office, how far are we away from you having a dedicated analyst that is their pitch caller to say, hey, and you just have numbers crunched from thousands. Hey, 0-1, this guy really sucks with this. Boom, boom, boom. This is what we're going to throw, right? Like you have your algorithms built out, yada, yada, yada. This is, your pitch does this to this guy, right? It's doing this today because I have the TrackMan right in front of me. Like how far are we from that, if that's even a thing? I know there's a lot of
Oh, it's a
players,
thing.
the union, the CBA, all that's probably gonna whatever. But if I'm
So,
trying to win a World Series, right, and I have every bit of data in front of me of real time stuff, and on top of that, all the historical data,
yep.
I mean, it's kind of hard for you not to argue that that's the best way to go.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's gonna happen?
So I think to a point it's happened before. Like Roger Craig, when he was managing the Giants in the late 80s, 90s, called pitches. It wasn't publicized, it wasn't this big deal, but he had
I
a
didn't know
catcher he
that.
could trust. And so he was suggesting pitches to the catcher. The guys on the staff that were established still called their game,
Hmm.
but he was trying to speed them up by giving the catcher some help. The guy struggled to catch, and he
Mm.
was just taking something off his plate. You look into the 90s and now you see catchers checking in the dugout. When are we going to pick? When are we calling pitch outs? Things of that sort. If you don't think that they were calling pitches when they were doing that,
Oh,
they
sure.
were.
Yeah.
They absolutely were. You have catchers who have a really good feel for it and they can back off. But I would say that right now, without having any knowledge to it at all, I would bet that most clubs have a system in place where they can call pitches to the catcher when they want to.
Mm.
And so it comes to the computer model says this is what we're going to do, but we're still dealing with human beings. So how much freedom we're going to give the human being to think and to react and to, Kershaw was on that interview I was talking about in the World Series, talking about he could not make his slider go right. He's in the game and he's throwing his best pitch that he's had feel for and command for all the time, but now he's out of his rhythms. He's in the bullpen. He said, I couldn't get the slider to go. And he said, I made an adjustment and I got it. But in that same aspect, he probably had the freedom to go, no, we're not throwing that.
Mm.
Slider's the right pitch, but no, we're not throwing it because I don't have the slider that all the analytics are built off of.
Hmm.
So the guy in the dugout I think, we practiced this when I was coaching. The guy in the dugout is suggesting pitches. He's not calling them. And it's
Yeah.
for
I
pace
think
of play, it's for
sure.
scouting reports, and it's for, just general knowledge.
Right.
But feel, touch, and execution has to be the two guys who are throwing and catching it.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I just, you know, you wonder if it's going to ever just go to that model completely, where like there is no suggestion, there's no feel for it. It's just, hey, this is what this says, you're doing it. Um,
Well, you're seeing it more with the way the reports are done now. I know you throw 97, I know you throw 101, but hey, we want you at about 70% slider.
yeah, no
So
doubt.
he
Right.
just comes in, he just rips slider because it's been told, it's in his head now. He has the ability to change that should he want. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're watching the game and guys are starting to get dialed in on slider, they're not attacking with a fastball. They'll throw a show me fastball and then they go right back to slider. Where if they could
Right.
just stick the fastball in there, everybody thinks he's throwing slider. You
Yeah.
can almost probably go middle if you're just going to do one.
Right.
Um,
Right. No, it's interesting. It's a weird time, man. I don't, I'm trying to think. I had a couple more things I wanted to hit on. They're a little off top, not off topic,
yeah,
but as far as like NIL and stuff, what do you think? How is that going to affect guys? Because I don't, again, going like it's similar to travel ball where it's like the Wild West almost. I think Vitello did an interview with somebody. I think he was doing it with Bussin' with the Boys
yeah.
maybe, and he was talking about how it is just like you're going. I think he mentioned like you're going, you can only see 200 feet at a time, like the fog, like you're driving through the fog. You have no idea what's right, what's wrong, what can you do, what turn you should make, and it's just kind of a guessing game. Um, I think the NCAA has a really large problem on their hands. And I don't know if anyone has the right solution because you have free agency every single year, a couple times a year. I think maybe it's once now, but you can literally enter the portal every year and just go to the highest bidder. Like, in all,
I don't know. I don't know how they're eligible because we dealt with a deal called progress towards degree.
hmm
And excuse me, if you were a 2-year guy and you transferred in, we had to look at the classes you were taking at JUCO or transferring in to make sure, hey, you're going to be able to get a degree, not the
right.
degree you want, but a degree, because back then the business school at Wilmington wasn't going to take classes from the business school at Charlotte or the business school at Chapel Hill or the business
hmm
school from Stanford
Right.
because the business school at Wilmington had a way that they were going to do their curriculum. I don't know if the universities have just waived all that and they're just because you see all these guys transferring in, but I think progress towards degree is one way where they can kind of get that back. You've got to be working towards a degree if you're a college student,
You have to. Yeah.
and that's one way they can curb it. I think the coaches that are going to thrive are the ones who can navigate the here and now. Where are your feet? We're not building programs anymore. We're building teams.
hmm
And so, what is best for this team? And Vitello talked a little bit in that interview about the right-hander that's with the Reds now that went to Wake Forest.
Yeah.
You know,
Louder.
no, the Chase
Oh,
Burns.
Burns. Yeah. Burns.
Yeah, so Burns he wasn't landing enough strikes efficiently to be an SEC starter, and so they were going to move him to the bullpen where the stuff was really going to play.
Oh, yeah.
That was the best thing for Tennessee's team that year. The best thing for Tennessee's program may have been leaving him as a starter, and we're just going to try to grind those games out, and we'll figure it out. But he comes back the next year. He's going to be the first overall pick, and we'll be right back in it.
hmm
But they had the tough conversation, and they moved him to the bullpen, knowing he's probably gone. And now you're dealing with that in the year. Hey, I got a guy
Right.
on the team that maybe isn't. And to Chase's credit, to Tony's credit, and to the university's the baseball program, they handled it really well. They had a
They
good
did.
run.
Yeah, they
And
did.
then Chase transfers, and Tennessee doesn't go, oh man, we lost the number one guy, and what are we gonna do? They just repile.
They reload.
Here's the arm here, and here's the next arm, and you stay with where you're at. We're not
Right.
going to worry about all these other things that happen. So can you control where you're at? Can you control where your feet are? And then the second part is can you communicate with your team in a positive manner, but still be truthful with them? And I think that's where Tony separates himself. And I think that's where the Giants were intrigued. I think that's where he has a chance to really get off to a good start with the Giants because
The communication.
yeah, he's gonna be in a locker room. There's gonna be guys in the locker room. You've never been in pro ball. You don't know. And I think one of the first things Tony will tell guys is this is new to me. I'm gonna be leaning
hmm
on you guys.
Yeah.
You guys lead me. I'm here, but I'm gonna be
Right.
honest with you, and I'm gonna tell you what's going on and what I think. And the door's open and blah 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 blah. That's that old school guy that kind of locked himself in his office and didn't communicate with his players and let his assistants kind of be good guys and bad guys and just manage the program. That guy that's a dinosaur now.
Yeah.
And guys like Dave Van Horn have had to alter, and Elliott Avon and NC State, and these guys,
Mhm.
they've had to they've done a great job of adapting and adjusting to
The
what
new
the
age
times
players.
call for.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in the old days, 15, 20, you couldn't do that because you were the way you were going about getting players and bringing players in and keeping your guys. You could be honest with them, you could be truthful with them, but you couldn't be too honest with them because you needed them to come back in the fall to see if they got
Yeah.
better. And if they didn't, you had a guy there ready. They
Right.
go, now
Yeah.
you got to tell them, hey, I don't think you can play here. We would
Hmm.
love to have you back. I'm just telling you, I think it's better for you if you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Tough conversation, but when the more you have those conversations, the more you put the players in positive situations. Those programs, it seems like outside looking in, have had success with that model.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think you have to be honest with everybody. You have to be honest with the players because they can see through it, right? I
Yeah,
mean, I think it's just a weird time. And the Vitello thing, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out, man. I obviously I've heard nothing but great things about him, and he's a fiery individual, so I'm sure he'll fit right in with that clubhouse. I play with Matt Chapman, and that's one of the better teammates I've ever had.
yeah.
That guy will go to bat for you. Freaking just a fireball, man. Super passionate. So I think that vibe of the clubhouse that they have, I think he'll fit in well. So we'll see. It's going to be really interesting to be able to watch how that unfolds. How do you think NIL has affected high school recruiting? I mean, I see it a lot as far as, in the business that we're in, as far as player development, and trying to help guys go to, schools, right? But
Right.
it's like you said, a lot of these programs are in the here and now and where the feet are and trying to build programs, build teams. Um, you're not really going to the 17-year-old anymore, because again, you said it like you're trying to pay your mortgage based off of how a 17 or 18-year-old does. I'd much rather take the odds of a 21-year-old, 22-year-old that has experience.
24-year-old.
24-year-old,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh, halfway to 30 there. Like it's, I don't know, like, is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. So I like that players are getting the NIL.
Sure. Yeah.
Trying to figure
I
out, I
wish
think
it
where,
was
where we
happening when I
have
was playing.
issues. Right, exactly. I wouldn't have gotten any, but I had teammates that may have profited some.
Sure.
I think where players and families are at right now, and it's the coaches are in the same boat, is they don't know the rules and they don't know how it works.
Hmm.
And it's the coaches, you would go, why don't the coaches know? It's changed each of the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So the rules have constantly changed on them. So as I was coaching, we would have players and families come in and we always got the same questions. We always got because they're all talking. They all this is you they went to this guy and he said, hey, when you go on your visit, this is what you think questions you should ask. So we got the same 30 questions from every player that came in.
Hmm.
Well, throw that playbook's gone because there's nobody going through the recruiting process the way that the 27s, the 26s, the 28s are going to. The 28s can't look to the 27s because it's different. They're getting some feel, but the 27s and 28s definitely couldn't look at the 25s, 24s, 23s, 22s and get feel for how they went through it because it's a completely different landscape.
Yeah.
The 20 the 27 the 26 class was the first one that didn't no communication with the until they were August 1 of their junior year. Well, prior to that, the guys they were following, they were being talked to in eighth grade. And so trying to navigate that's where I think there's um, anxiety is just we don't know. And
Right.
so, what is a good scholarship offer? How does NIL? Last year it was the scholarship offer, and then we're going to package it with NIL. Now we can give you a full ride. The NIL can be packaged into it. So we're just going to give you one number. And how does that work? And it's just, is it a 1 year deal? Is it a 3 year deal? Is it a 4 year deal? Nobody knows. What's the roster limit going to be? Nobody knows. So if I'm recruiting, if I'm at 35 on my roster now and I've only got six seniors, I've already committed 10. How am I getting down to 35? Nobody knows. It's
Right.
just, that's where they're caught. And I get that there's a lot of anxiety on that. Um, what we have told players that come through our system and when we're trying to give advice is one, I don't have answers for you because everything is so new. There is nothing I can go back on and go historically, this is what you should be doing.
Hmm.
What I can tell players is you need to be somewhere where you're comfortable, where you're going to get better, and where you have a legitimate chance to play.
Sure.
If you're playing and you get better, other opportunities are going to open. Take them, don't take them, stay, go. I would love to see guys stay. I think the college experience
Yeah.
and being in one spot and going, I think it's a wonderful thing. But I'm also not going to argue with somebody who is at school A and is doing really well and now can go make $1 million somewhere else. Go make
Hmm.
your money.
Oh yeah.
So, but put yourself in those positions. The biggest thing has been for the younger players. You know, it is no longer about how many times can you be seen. It is about how much better can you get.
Right.
Because when you show up on a college campus and you're 18 years old and you're got all this spunk and fire and you're excited and you're competing against grown ass men,
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
24 that are being paid to do a job.
Hmm.
They're on your team. You're going to build a team, but early on, you are there to take their money, and they are physically bigger and have had a ton more reps than you have. They are going to be way further advanced than you are.
Right.
So if you're a better player than they are, you have a chance to close that gap. But you've got to get better. You
Yeah.
have to continually get better, whether that's, and I always start with your nutrition and your sleep habits.
Hmm.
You have to do well in school. You have to have positive daily habits. But what is your nutrition like? What are your sleep habits like? And if those two things are in good spots, now you have a chance to advance because it's not just about going into to the facility one day and you're working with them and you unlock a hip hinge that adds 2 miles an hour and now their arm's more springy. That's great. Okay. So now you went from 88 to 90. Awesome. You're still a below average fastball. So what do you do tomorrow? What do you
Right.
do? How many days can you pile up on each other?
Yeah.
And the biggest jolt for high school players when they get to college isn't the drills or the reps or the intensity. They got an idea of what's going to happen. It's the intensity that's there on Monday and
Yep.
then is there again on Tuesday and then is there again on Wednesday. And so we would tell guys because we recruited we liked guys that played multiple positions and multiple sports and things like that. So we had a lot of football guys come through and we would tell them our fall baseball. I want you to imagine Friday night, you're running through, the lights are on, the crowd goes wild. And we are going to do that at some point in the fall because of the way the calendar works, 16 straight days. Can you have that level of excitement and preparedness and anxiety in a good way for 16 straight days? And if they've been through that and guys that have played football kind of understand that, that's hard to do.
Very.
You can't get up for a Friday night game for a Tuesday walkthrough.
No.
We're telling you you have to.
Right.
And so that's the difference. And how do you treat your body? Because that level of development it's great when they come in and you guys find an issue, fix an issue, and instantly we see that velocity jump, we see spin, we see depth. Those are great days.
Hmm.
But that 1% that we always talk about, can you get 1% better? Can you get a 0.5% better? Can you take your fastball today because of the work we did from 86.2 to 86.25? Can you do that today? And then can you do it again tomorrow? And all of a sudden, over the course of 3 months, we've gone from 86 to 89.
Hmm.
That's what it takes for these guys to translate into the college game right now. And they have to do it quickly
Yeah.
because roster spots are limited and they're competing against grown men.
That was, when I was at Ole Miss, Bianco, we had the Kaizen where it was getting better over a large period of time in small increments, right? So that was kind of one of our mantras was 1% better every single day.
Yep.
And I'll tell people that every day, when they come into our facility, it's like, the lesson model, great, whatever. But like, if you're doing a program with us, right, and you're doing a whole year, like, can we get better 1% every day? Can we, like, even if it's just like we added, 0.05 miles an hour, or we did something cool in the weight room, or we did, like, can we continue to stack the days, right? And then you look a year from now and you're like, oh, I really like where I'm at, right? So it's building that, and it's so hard in today's age with kind of the the new age player and social media and instant gratification and
Yep.
getting these kids to buy into the process of everything is the biggest challenge, right? Is to like you might not, see, the progress you want instantly, but like you gotta stick to it, man. Like there's a plan in place and you have to trust that process. I know it's very cliche, but it's so true in any facet of life, I think.
And it's where we lose people because it is the cliche and it does make too much sense. But to understand how hard it is because it makes so much sense. 1 and 1 equals 2.
Hmm.
Beautiful. 1 and 1 equals 2. But can you get to the point where if I tell you 1 and 1 equals 3, because we're going to work and we're going to do 1 and 1 every single day. And after time, 1 and 1 is going to eventually be 3 because we built so many days on top of each other. When we have a setback, when we have a week where we don't have any intensity, we have a week where maybe it's not even intensity. Maybe it's not mental makeup. It's just your body's beat down. You have exams going on. You have a girlfriend problem, and you're not getting enough sleep because of the exam going on. Well, now your body's at 90% or at
Hmm.
80%. And so
Sure.
now we're doing the work at 80%. You're not getting 1% better. We're surviving. We're trying to survive on those. I don't need survival days. I need you to put your life in a position where we have attack days. We're
Right.
not going to just try to get by and just survive this workout. I need you to attack this workout so we do get to that 1%. And everything, and I see it more with baseball than any other sport. We always talk about, I don't know how your experience was, but academics for baseball players translated.
Mm.
So, Chris and Corey Lane played for us at Charlotte. Corey Lane's a country music star, probably not superstar. He'll if he sees this, he'll laugh. Um, but those two guys, it was a struggle academically. They had to really, and they knew it from the time they had tutors for every one of their classes as freshmen before we started classes. They had not been to a single class yet, and they had tutors for all their classes because
Wow.
they knew. And that was for 4 years they did that. And we felt like the best GPA kind of, pie in the sky. Can we get them to a 2.5? And can we
Mm.
maintain a 2.5? And I think they both graduated like a 2.7.
To win.
They did a great job, but that work freed them up on the baseball field. Whereas if you have a guy that should be a 3.7 and he's making a 3.3, we see negative impact on the baseball field
Interesting.
because they're getting by and it translates. Then they just get by in practice. I don't know why it doesn't translate in other sports. It does not translate in basketball, it does not translate in football across the board. But baseball, for whatever reason, regardless of social, economic, it's just across the board. The academic piece and the way their lives are, because it's an everyday sport,
That's probably, yeah,
translates into how they develop.
makes sense. I mean, because basketball and football, you're only playing however many times a week. Football, obviously, once. Um, no, it makes a ton of sense. Because I think that just kind of tells you what kind of individual you are, and it might not be for every case, but I'm sure there is probably some correlation there. But that's interesting, very interesting. But I think it's a good stopping point. I don't really have
Yeah.
much. You got anything else you want to plug or anything?
We- we've got our events coming up,
Yeah,
preseason IDs
yeah, they're
and the
busy with
preseason
that,
all
man.
states, and trying to get that will springboard us into our high school coverage with where we've got, we'll try to get out and see close to 400 high school games, but
Sure.
our preseason previews and trying to spotlight as many high schools across the state as we can will be a big deal and get a ton of eyes on players and on programs. So
Yeah,
hard to believe. It snowed here in Charlotte 2 days ago, so
that's
winter's
right.
done because it's 70 degrees
Yeah.
today. So I think we're done with winter,
Spring
and
baseball's in 2 weeks.
it's here. It's springtime, baby.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, cool. Let's do this again, man. I really enjoyed
Yeah.
this. Just talking about the state of baseball and kind of where we're at. So this was awesome. So Brandon, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, let's talk soon.
A
Yeah.
off topic, the motion capture day.
Yeah.
I've got the email ready. My guys that keep bombarding me. We got 4 and 5 things going on, but
Hmm.
um, trying to figure out what would the formatting of the motion capture video be in.
Okay.
How big is the file
Okay.
for, do you do single pitches? Would you do a group of pitches? So we got to figure out if we can host that on the player profile.
Hmm. Send
And then,
text me the questions and I'll
yeah,
I'll put you in contact with Joey who does all of our like research and development and stuff and he can give you like the hard numbers of what files they are, sizes, what pitches,
okay.
what we would need, that sort of thing. But I would imagine, because I think everything's through a QTM file, but I'll have to double check that and we can structure it however you want.
Uh, I don't, I
So
don't want to add work to anybody.
no, it's fine.
And
He,
then
he
the
needs to
other
work. We'll be all right.
the other part they looked at was, and I'll put this in the email, was if we run this, what corporate HQ would want me to do is to run a prep baseball event. So we would be renting out the facility, renting
Yep.
out whatever equipment or whatever
Mhm.
people. We'll be there. We'll take them through the event. And then on the back end, we'll build in pieces for you guys for marketing or for upsell or for whatever after they've gotten that, where
Okay.
you guys can come back in, whether it's a story on the event, but also the ability to contact the players
Yeah.
that are there.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'll throw it in there and let you guys look at it. And then if it
Be
makes
great.
sense, something we can look at. If it doesn't make sense, then we can go back to the drawing board and see where we're at.
Works for me, brother. Yeah, just shoot me that and I'll take a look at it and then whatever questions you guys have as far as, any of it. So, yeah,
Okay.
easy.
All right, man. Thank you
Cool.
so
Thanks, Brandon.
much.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.